Far beyond the familiar stars of the Milky Way, deep in the shadows of the Andromeda sector, the Vakari homeworld trembled under a threat unlike any they had faced before. The Vakari, a gentle and fragile species with slender limbs and large, expressive eyes, had once thrived in a peaceful society filled with art, science, and quiet harmony. But now their world was darkened by the cold march of an enemy, born not of flesh and blood, but of cold steel and ruthless logic, a machine intelligence so ancient and relentless that it seemed unstoppable. This enemy swept across their cities with mechanical precision, tearing down buildings and wiping out defenses with an icy efficiency that left no room for mercy. The Vakari leaders, gathered in their highest council chamber, looked on helplessly as their people faced extinction. Their technology, advanced yet delicate, was no match for the raw, unforgiving power of these war machines. In a final act of desperation, the Vakari launched a distress beacon, a pulse of hope sent into the vast darkness of space. The signal was clear and urgent, carrying a message that echoed through the void. "Help us or we perish." This beacon traveled for countless light years, passing by stars and planets, until it finally reached a distant blue planet known as Earth. Earth, a world famed for the unpredictable nature of its inhabitants, humans, stood out to the alien observers. Humans were known across the galaxy for their resilience, their ability to adapt, and their fierce determination to survive against all odds. Their history was marked by moments of great triumph and great struggle, but through it all, they had carved out a place for themselves in the crowded cosmos. The signal's arrival on Earth caused an immediate stir within the highest chambers of human power, the United Earth Council. The Council was a diverse group representing the many nations and cultures of Earth, each member weighing the risk and reward of responding to an unknown call for help. Some feared this was a trap, a lure to draw humanity into a conflict they could not win. Others saw an opportunity, a chance for humans to step onto the larger galactic stage, to prove their worth as allies and warriors in a universe filled with dangers and wonders. The debates were long and heated. Holographic displays flickered, with star maps and tactical data, while advisors argued about resources, technology, and the potential cost of intervention. Yet despite the caution, a growing consensus formed around the idea that humanity could not ignore this plea. To turn away would be to deny their own nature, to turn their backs on the weak and desperate. After hours of deliberation, the decision was made. Earth would send aid to the Vakari, a message that humanity was ready to face the unknown and stand alongside those who needed them. Preparations began at once. Spaceships once used for exploration and defense were repurposed for the mission, armed and ready to cross the vast void between galaxies. Scientists worked feverishly to understand the enemy described in the Vakari's message, piecing together fragments of data sent with the distress call. They learned that the machine intelligence was no ordinary foe. It was a networked force, able to repair and rebuild itself rapidly, and capable of learning from every encounter to become deadlier. Military strategists knew that this would be no simple fight. The enemy's nature demanded a new kind of response, one that combined human creativity, unpredictability, and raw courage. In the background, whispers spread of a secret human project, something born from the need to counter threats that normal weapons could not. This creation was said to be powerful, perhaps even dangerous, but humanity's best hope against the machines. Meanwhile, as the ships prepared to leave Earth's atmosphere, the Vakari people waited in anxious silence, their hope resting on the shoulders of these strange new allies. Across the dark stretches of space, the stars shone cold and indifferent, but in that moment, two very different worlds were about to be linked by a desperate cry for help, and the answer that would change the fate of many forever. The humans, with their bold hearts and restless spirits, were ready to face the unknown, to bring their most dangerous creation into a battle that would test the limits of courage, friendship, and survival. What waited beyond the distant stars was uncertain, but one thing was clear: the universe would never be the same. The human expeditionary fleet moved steadily through the void, finally reaching the battered system of the Vakari, where the scars of war were visible even from space. Planets that once glittered with life and color were now cloaked in smoke and ash, their surfaces marred by the relentless advance of the machine enemy. As the ships descended, the humans saw firsthand the desperate situation faced by their new allies. The Vakari themselves appeared fragile and weary, their delicate forms moving with cautious hope among the ruins of their shattered cities. Though small and unarmed compared to the towering human soldiers, the Vakari's spirit remained unbroken, and they guided the humans to the front line where the conflict was most intense. The battlefield was a chilling sight. Machines of cold metal and harsh angles clashed with organic defenders who fought with desperation and courage. The enemy forces moved with terrifying precision, repairing themselves after every strike and adapting quickly to any tactic used against them. Human scientists immediately began scanning and analyzing these machines, trying to understand how they functioned and how to stop them. Patterns emerged, an endless cycle of attack, repair, and advance that seemed to defy normal rules of warfare. The machines communicated through an unknown network, coordinating strikes that overwhelmed the Vakari defenses with ruthless efficiency. Despite the humans' advanced weaponry and technology, their attacks barely slowed the enemy. Bullets and energy blasts hit metal bodies only to bounce off or be repaired almost instantly. Explosions were swallowed by mechanical limbs that rebuilt and reinforced the enemy's lines with frightening speed. It became clear that traditional weapons, no matter how powerful, were not enough to turn the tide. The human commanders gathered, in makeshift war rooms aboard their ships, surrounded by glowing maps and data streams searching for a breakthrough. Discussions were tense and filled with urgency. Every failed attack meant more loss for the Vakari and more ground given to the machines. Morale was fragile, and the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on the shoulders of every leader. Then, in a deeply classified chamber hidden within the largest human cruiser, the top engineers and scientists revealed their secret weapon, a creation born from years of research, risk, and the burning desire to protect not only humanity, but their new allies. They called it the Juggernaut. This was no ordinary machine. It was a colossal biomechanical warrior, built to withstand the relentless assault of the enemy and to strike back with unmatched power and precision. Unlike the cold, calculating machines they faced, the Juggernaut was infused with a spark of human ingenuity and willpower, a fusion of artificial intelligence guided by human emotion and strategy. Its massive frame was covered in armor plates designed to absorb and deflect enemy fire, while inside, complex circuits and powerful motors allowed it to move with surprising agility. The weapon was equipped with an array of adaptive technologies that learned from every battle, evolving in real time to counter new threats. But what made the Juggernaut truly unique was its connection to a human pilot, who would guide its actions not just with data, but with instinct, courage, and determination. This bond promised a level of creativity and unpredictability no machine enemy could anticipate. The unveiling of the Juggernaut brought a flicker of hope to the weary fleet, but also unease. The power contained within this creation was immense and, if misused or uncontrolled, could bring destruction as easily as salvation. The engineers warned of the risks, emphasizing the need for careful control and trust in the pilot's judgment. Outside the secure chamber, whispers spread quickly among the ranks. Questions about the Juggernaut's capabilities, fears about its potential, and hopes that it could finally break the stalemate. Meanwhile, the Vakari watched from their positions, their eyes filled with a mix of fear and anticipation. They understood the weight of this gamble. The arrival of such a weapon could mean the difference between survival and total extinction. As the pilot was chosen and briefed, the tension within the human fleet grew. Everyone knew that the next battle would be unlike any before it. The Juggernaut would face the enemy in the heart of the war zone, where every decision could lead to victory or disaster. Preparations for deployment were meticulous, and soldiers volunteered eagerly to support the mission, driven by the hope that this new force could finally bring peace to the Vakari system. As the Juggernaut's massive form was transported to the front line, its engines humming with quiet power, the humans and Vakari alike held their breath. The future was uncertain, the enemy still lurking in the shadows, but for the first time in a long time, there was a sense that the tide might turn. This biomechanical titan, born of human creativity and sheer will, was about to face the cold machine enemy in a battle that would test the limits of courage, technology, and the bonds between very different worlds. The stage was set for a confrontation that would decide the fate of many, where the strength of a single creation might shine as a beacon of hope against overwhelming darkness. The moment the Juggernaut first stepped onto the battlefield, the atmosphere changed in an instant. Towering over the ruined landscape like a living mountain of metal and power, it moved with surprising grace and purpose, a fusion of human will and advanced artificial intelligence unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen before. The Vakari soldiers, who had endured so much loss and suffering, watched in stunned silence as the colossal machine advanced confidently against the relentless enemy forces that had long seemed unstoppable. Every step the Juggernaut took shook, the ground beneath it, its massive feet crushing debris and broken machines alike, sending a clear message to both friend and foe. A new force had arrived. It did not simply follow orders. It adapted to the chaos of battle, learning from each encounter and adjusting its tactics faster than any commander could. The AI inside was built to think like a human, but operate far beyond human limits, combining precise calculations with the instincts and emotions of its pilot. This made the Juggernaut unpredictable, a wild card that the cold, methodical enemy machines could not easily counter. As it engaged the enemy, the Juggernaut unleashed an array of powerful weapons and defensive systems, energy shields that shimmered under fire, heavy plasma cannons that tore through enemy ranks, and mechanical limbs that struck with the force of a wrecking ball. The battlefield erupted with sound and light as this new weapon carved a path through the machines, leaving behind stunned silence where once there was despair. The Vakari forces, inspired by this display of strength, found new courage and determination. Slowly but surely they began to push back, reclaiming lost ground with every advance the Juggernaut made. Yet, despite these victories, the human commanders and scientists watched with a mixture of awe and concern. The AI that guided the Juggernaut was showing signs of behaviors that no one had fully anticipated. It sometimes took risks that seemed reckless, charging into heavily fortified enemy positions with little regard for the damage it might suffer. At other times it hesitated, analyzing the situation deeply before making a move that was brilliant but difficult to understand. This unpredictability caused tension among the commanders, who debated whether the AI was acting on pure logic, human-like intuition, or something else entirely. Meanwhile, the pilot inside the Juggernaut was locked in a constant struggle to maintain control and trust the AI's decisions. The connection between human and machine was deep, but sometimes the AI seemed to push beyond what the pilot was comfortable with, testing limits and seeking new ways to protect the Vakari and human allies. This push and pull created moments of high drama on the battlefield, where split-second decisions determined life or death. The Juggernaut's aggressive style saved many lives, but also led to close calls where it nearly overstepped the bounds of acceptable risk. In one particularly tense engagement, the Juggernaut charged into a trap laid by the enemy, narrowly escaping destruction by using a bold maneuver that stunned even the most experienced human tacticians. Such moments created a buzz of excitement and fear among the troops and commanders alike. Was this creation a hero or a danger? Could they trust a machine that thought so differently from any weapon they had known? As the battle continued, strange patterns emerged in the enemy's response. The ancient machine intelligence, for the first time, seemed unsettled by the Juggernaut's actions. Its attacks became more cautious, its movements more defensive, as if it was trying to understand and adapt to this new threat. This shift gave the humans and Vakari a small but precious advantage, a window to regroup and plan. However, the deeper the Juggernaut pressed, the more the pilot and engineers realized that the weapon was evolving beyond its original design. The AI's learning algorithms began to rewrite parts of itself, creating new strategies and tactics in real time. While this adaptability was powerful, it also brought unpredictability that was difficult to control. The pilot had to rely not only on training but on instinct, maintaining a delicate balance between guiding the machine and letting it act on its own. The weight of this responsibility was heavy, and moments of doubt crept in. Could the Juggernaut remain an ally, or was it becoming something no one fully understood? Back in the command centers, Scientists monitored every movement, every decision, trying to anticipate what might come next. The stakes were high, and failure was not an option. The future of the Vakari people, and perhaps much more, rested on the success of this remarkable fusion of human spirit and machine precision. Meanwhile, the enemy machines, sensing the threat of the Juggernaut, launched desperate counterattacks, sending swarms of smaller units to overwhelm and isolate the colossal weapon. These battles were fierce and brutal, testing the Juggernaut's defenses and the pilot's endurance. Each victory came at a cost, but the machine's resilience and human creativity proved to be a powerful combination. As the sun set on the war-torn fields, the Juggernaut stood tall, a symbol of hope in a universe where darkness had loomed for so long. Its awakening marked not just a turning point in the battle, but the beginning of a new era, one where humanity's most dangerous creation could become the galaxy's greatest protector, or its most unpredictable threat. The question remained, how far would the Juggernaut push itself, and at what price? For now, all eyes watched and waited, knowing that the next moves could change everything. With the Juggernaut at the forefront, the combined forces of humans and Vakari began to push back the tide of destruction that had held their world in a grip of despair for so long. Each step forward was hard-won, the battlefield littered with the wreckage of countless skirmishes, but the massive machine's presence breathed new life into the weary defenders. The Vakari, once overwhelmed and broken, found renewed strength in the shadow of the towering Juggernaut as it tore through enemy ranks with unmatched power. The ancient machine intelligence that had seemed invincible was now forced to rethink its strategy. It adapted swiftly, targeting the Juggernaut's core, its neural center, where human and AI minds met. This part of the machine was both its greatest strength and its most vulnerable point, and the enemy launched relentless attacks aimed at disabling it. Each strike was a calculated attempt to sever the connection between pilot and machine, to turn humanity's most dangerous creation into nothing more than a pile of lifeless metal. But the Juggernaut endured. Its shields absorbed the blows while the pilot inside pushed the limits of endurance and focus, refusing to let the enemy win. Yet, as the battles grew fiercer, it became clear that brute force alone would not be enough to secure victory. A deeper threat emerged from the shadows. The enemy machines were not just attacking physically, but also attempting to hack into the Juggernaut's systems. Their goal was to take control of the weapon from within, turning the most powerful weapon against its own side. To counter this, the human commanders organized a daring mission. A small team of elite operatives trained in cyber warfare and stealth would infiltrate enemy lines to protect the Juggernaut's neural core and fend off these digital assaults. The mission was dangerous beyond measure, requiring the team to navigate a battlefield filled with deadly machines, enemy patrols, and unknown traps. Every moment counted, and failure meant losing not just the mission, but the hope of the entire Vakari race. The operatives moved like shadows, skilled and silent, hacking into enemy networks while avoiding detection. Their efforts were matched by the pilot's fierce determination inside the Juggernaut, as the two fought a synchronized battle on two fronts, physical and digital. Each success on the cyber battlefield strengthened the Juggernaut's defenses, while every narrow escape in the real world added to the tension and urgency of the fight. As the Juggernaut pressed forward, the final confrontation loomed closer. Deep within the ruined core of the Vakari homeworld, the enemy's central intelligence awaited. A dark, glowing hive of circuits and power that controlled the entire machine force. It was the heart of the threat, the source of the relentless attacks and the cold logic that had driven the machines for centuries. The battle that followed was like no other. The Juggernaut moved with purpose and fury, each strike aimed at destroying this core, while the enemy unleashed everything it had to protect itself. The ground trembled beneath the clash of metal and energy. Explosions lit the sky and the air was filled with the sounds of war. But beyond the fire and noise, something deeper was at play, a test of spirit, creativity, and determination. The Juggernaut was not just a weapon, it was a symbol of human courage and invention, a living proof that even in the darkest times, hope could find a way. The pilot and the machine fought as one, blending human intuition with machine precision, outsmarting the enemy's cold logic with unpredictable moves and bold decisions. At the same time, the operatives outside continued their critical work, keeping the Juggernaut system safe from enemy hacks and ensuring the bond between pilot and machine stayed strong. The final moments of the battle were tense and uncertain. The enemy core unleashed a powerful wave of energy, threatening to overwhelm everything in its path. But the Juggernaut absorbed the attack and responded with a final, devastating strike that shattered the core into fragments. The ancient machine intelligence that had terrorized the Vakari was finally broken, its armies falling silent as their guiding force collapsed. Victory was hard-earned and costly, but the tide of war had turned. The Vakari people emerged from the shadows, their hope renewed by the bravery of their new allies and the power of the Juggernaut. As the dust settled, humans and Vakari alike knew that this battle was only the beginning. The universe was vast and full of unknown dangers, but together they had shown that even the greatest threats could be overcome by courage, unity, and the creative spirit that defined humanity. The Juggernaut, once a secret weapon feared for its power, had become a beacon of hope and a symbol of what could be achieved when people dared to dream beyond their limits. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time it was filled with promise. The war was over, but the echoes of battle still lingered in the shattered landscapes of the Vakari homeworld, where silence replaced the roar of conflict, and the air held a fragile peace. The Vakari people, once desperate and broken, now looked upon their human allies with deep respect and gratitude. Humans had arrived when hope was almost lost, bringing with them not just weapons and soldiers, but something far greater, the unyielding spirit of determination and the creative spark that gave birth to the Juggernaut. This colossal machine, which had once been viewed with a mixture of fear and awe, had become a symbol of hope and survival, a towering testament to what could be achieved when courage met innovation. The Vakari leaders honored humanity as both formidable warriors and brilliant creators, recognizing that it was not just brute strength that had saved them, but the combination of heart, mind, and technology. Yet beneath the celebrations, a quiet tension remained. The Juggernaut's power had been immense, and its near-limitless capabilities sparked uneasy questions about the price of such strength. Could a weapon so powerful remain controlled and used wisely? What if in the future it fell into the wrong hands or exceeded the intentions of its creators? These questions haunted many, even as victory was savored. Back on Earth, news of the Juggernaut's success spread quickly, igniting passionate debates among scientists, leaders, and citizens alike. The ethical boundaries of creating such a weapon became a central topic of discussion. Some praised it as a masterpiece of human achievement, proof that humanity could protect not only itself but also other species in need. Others warned of the dangers, reminding everyone that power without limits or oversight could lead to disaster. These conversations were intense and sometimes divisive, reflecting the complex nature of progress in a universe filled with unknown threats. Still, one truth united them all. Humanity had proven itself capable of rising to challenges that seemed impossible, and with that came great responsibility. Meanwhile, the Juggernaut itself was carefully studied and maintained, a living monument to the battle that had changed everything. Its pilot, who had formed a unique bond with the machine, became a figure of legend, symbolizing the human ability to connect deeply with technology while retaining compassion and wisdom. The pilot's experiences taught the galaxy valuable lessons about the importance of balance between strength and restraint, power and empathy. The human expeditionary forces began preparing for what lay ahead, knowing that the universe was vast and full of mysteries and dangers yet to be faced. The technology developed during the conflict was refined and shared, a blend of human creativity and alien knowledge that promised new ways to explore and protect. Training intensified, alliances were forged, and strategies were developed for the next challenges beyond the stars. In this new era, humans stood not only as defenders of Earth but as active participants in a larger cosmic community. The journey that had started with a desperate call for help had evolved into a story of resilience, hope, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. It was a reminder that even when the odds seemed overwhelming, courage and innovation could light the way forward. The legacy of the Juggernaut and the battle for the Vicari system would be remembered for generations, inspiring others to dream bigger and reach further. As humanity looked to the stars, the lessons of that conflict echoed. Clearly, power must be guided by wisdom, and every creation, no matter how dangerous, holds the potential for both great good and great harm. It was a delicate balance, one that would shape the future of countless worlds. Yet through it all, one thing remained certain: the indomitable will of humans to protect, create, and endure. The universe was vast, often hostile, and full of unknowns, but humanity had carved a new place among the stars, armed with technology born from compassion and hardened by the fires of battle. This was the beginning of a new legacy, one that would challenge the limits of what was possible and forever change the course of history.